producer Chris is just happy as can be because soon the break is coming. We'll be on a holiday break, and I'm really excited about that as well because, again, I've been really working hard this year. Please go to my website, totaltutor.org. I cannot believe in the last day, 2 major celebrities I interviewed, and they'll be on later programs on the Total Education Network. Coach Dale Brown, former coach at LSU, and today Rashad McCants I did a recorded interview with. I want you guys to go to the website and you can check out that interview and much, much more. And I want to welcome the program my co-host who had a hiatus last week, Adam, the former teacher. Adam, thanks for coming to the studio.
Oh, it's good to be back.
And Adam, I mean, it's just amazing. The discussions I'm having, the people that are going to be coming on next year. Again, we are now syndicated on 49 stations, count them, and I just can imagine how great 2011, well, 2012 is going to even be better for the Total Education Network, and I'm glad you're part of it.
Well, thanks.
All right, so our topic today, I kind of am taking some news articles and saying, hey, I'm going to take some of the things that were on my network this week, and I had Carol Jones that wrote a great college book to prepare kids for college, that talked about a topic I just never thought of, the gap year. And for my audience that doesn't know what a gap year is, it's basically a situation where they graduate from high school and decide not to go to college first time. They decide they're going to take some time off and wait. And I want to know what you think of this. That, you know, a situation where they're going to, they might have even got into the school. And some colleges allow them. They got admitted, but they said, you know what, I need to take some time to either get a job, work for the Peace Corps, maybe be involved in other types of organizations. Or do you think that's a good idea? What's your thought on that, Adam?
I would say for right now, yes, I do think it's a good idea. I mean, I'm very biased because I work in higher education right now for the most part, and we deal with a lot of students that really are unprepared and unready for what a college life is. It's very much, for a lot of places, you're not prepared for high school for what it's like to be in college. To give certain people a chance to see if, one, they really do want to go to college, and two, to give them time to actually prepare for it if they are going.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing, and I really respect Carol Jones. She's a fantastic contributor to the Total Education Network, and she comes on my Thursday show now. And also, we should have her at one point on this. But I think that the concern I have is that kids that, you know, oh, I'm going to take a year, but then they never go back to college. And they might be, you know, talented enough to do it, Adam. Or they just decide, you know what, I'm going to travel Europe. Or, you know what, or you're going to do something like me, who I did a gap year, but it was a kind of strange gap year. I was in school for about 2 years, or 2.5 years, and dropped out to be a pro wrestler for a year and a half. Would you have thought that question, that I have had the strangest life in the world? But it did help me in certain ways. But I could have ended up on the wrong track completely.
Well, I mean, it's good for certain people just because not everyone needs to go to college. I mean, we have a lot of people that they went to college because it was the thing to do. And you go through college, you find yourself with an absorbent amount of debt, a degree that sometimes you can't parlay that into a high-paying job. You have a degree that is not helping you at all financially, and you have massive debt on top of it. So I think it's a good idea to point some people, not that we have to go to that direction for it, let's go directly to college. Now there's some people where, you know, they could have gone through and been successful, but they didn't because of the gap year. But I think that amount is small in comparison to the people that were going to go and save themselves a lot of debt and maybe went off and do something else. I mean, when we're in high school, we focus a lot, at least in the districts I were on getting kids into college directly out of high school. We don't go into, you know, internships or trade schools or many other options that aren't necessarily college.
Right, exactly. And I mean, I understand. I've heard this push from Jason, the public school guy. He did this about 2 years ago, and I think you were a fan of the show at that point in time when we went on our first 6 months, and it was a huge panel of people, and we had someone call in about this before we were a national show or just a local show. And I think we need to push everyone for college. I think they should have the trade as well, but put both things together. I think a lot of times, and what we're running into in our country, as our country is not education focused. Other countries, the bottom line is, I need to go to college. I need to be the best. I don't see that here. I need to be the best figure skater. I need to be the best gymnast. That's what parents push their kids for. I need to be the best, let's say, actor, or I need to be the best artist. They don't look at, or, all the extracurricular activities, or my son's going to go play in the NFL. Forgetting about education. And Adam, if we continue to allow this to happen, most of our schools are now, we have lots of foreigners in the classes. Could you imagine if we keep not valuing education? That's why I think that a gap year might be a great idea for some, especially kids that aren't really doing well academically, that need to find their niche, or people that, they just don't know what to do. But my concern is people are going to listen to this gap year thing and say, yeah, I'd like to go party for a year. But no, parents have to jump on board and say, if you're going to do this gap year, I have certain expectations. AmeriCorps is a fantastic idea. Because guess what? I worked with some tutors that worked for the AmeriCorps, and they came and tutored at my school. And they were in one of the most dangerous, hardest schools in the world to work for AmeriCorps. It wasn't the easiest job in the world. I think if you see that work is hard, Adam, and that I better go back to school and be focused after this gap year, it's a great thing. But that means that parents need to be really good mentors, or have people like John Williams, who's an academic life coach that kind of directs kids into mentoring to tell them, hey, if you're going to do this gap year, you need to do this. What's your thought?
Well, I think a big problem that we have today, and you'll hear this put in for the flooded labor market, that you'll sometimes see a lot of unemployment. It's part of the what the Occupy Wall Street movement is based on, is that we had such a giant push for our kids to go to college. And I don't blame the parents, because they grew up, most of them grew up not going to college.
And I'm sorry to interrupt and I'm going to let you keep talking.
Yeah.
But the reason is, Adam, because it was a business that colleges were just making money. That the higher education business, with the competition involved, is allowing more people to go to college because of competition.
Okay. And as the parents weren't going to college, they were working in the jobs that they told their kids not to take. They were telling their kids, don't be a dishwasher, don't, flip burgers, not because they thought this would get their kids ahead. Go to college and you'll get a good job. They weren't having these good jobs, but they saw the people that were going to college succeeding and wanted the best for their kids. So we send a wash of kids into a school system. They just start taking so much that we have things that used to be narrow, specialized fields are flooded, making the few degrees that were there worth less, and it makes it for the people that are highly educated not able to get a job, even if they're willing to move, even if they're willing to take a lower job. And then on top of that, since there's more people going, the prices for schools have gone up significantly. Has, I think, been 30% more than the general inflation has been higher education cost. So these kids are going in there with the expectations that I'm doing the right thing, I'm going to higher education, I'm following through, I'm doing this thing, and they come out, they're in more debt than humanly possible, they're not finding a job in their field, and they basically don't know what to go back on. And sometimes that's why I would say a gap year would be a good idea to really put in perspective, am I 100% sure this is what I want to do? If I'm going to go through it and follow through the whole way, am I going to go into a place where there's a job? It's great if there's not a lot of, let's say, philosophy majors, just to be stereotypical. And yes, they have the possibility of making a large deal of money. Are you going to be able to pay off your debt when you're done with it? And usually, no, you're not.
Mentorship. If you don't have a mentor, if you don't have a coach or a parent that they listen to, I don't think it's going to work. I think that you really have to make it controlled. If you're a parent that's going to pour that money in, or you're somebody that don't want to see their kid just living at your house, or I guess on Occupy Wall Street saying, I need a job. I think that I agree with you, Adam, in the way that maybe too many kids went to college with the wrong majors. And that's because parents said, hey, just go to college, you pick your major. I think that parents need to be hand in hand with that. And Carol Jones's book really gives a blueprint to teach kids at 6th and 7th and 8th grade what to do, so that parents are training them, getting ready for that decision for college. Like community college, I would say instead of a gap year, have them go to community college, take a couple classes, and work. And then see if they can really hack this. And then say, is this something you're passionate about? Let me give you a little story, and I think that this is something that people don't know about my background is when I did decide to stop going to school, to try to go after a career in the WWF. I was very close to making it. I did TV in Omaha, Nebraska. I was very close to the big time. And again, they asked me to go on anabolic steroids, which I told them absolutely positively not. Can you believe I'm saying this stuff on radio, on national radio as well? But that's where Vince McMahon needs to find out himself in certain ways, even though we might have someone from Vince's organization on in a couple of weeks, but oh well. But the fact is, I just think that what we're dealing with is a problem that how are we going to figure this out? And it's coaching. It's telling these kids, hey, you can make it. And I made the decision once I came back. I was very focused to be in the classroom. I wasn't before. I was more willing to learn because I was starving to death on the road, where basically I didn't know where I was going to eat each day because I made the decision to work 6 nights a week down south wrestling and say, forget family. I said, I told my parents, don't support me. I'm going to learn this on my own. And I some nights slept in vans, did all these different things, then came back and understood that perspective. That's something different than, okay, I'm going to travel Europe. That's something different where, hey, I think that you have to have parents involved that allow them to have those decisions, but you have to learn on your own as well. And if you're picking a major that's a crazy major, I'm not going to pour that money in. You're going to community college if it's my kids. What's your thought before we have to take a break?
Unfortunately, it's not usually the crazy major. Like, we have a lot of people that are, okay, I'm going to go into business, accounting. Criminal justice is a new market that has just been flooded to death. Even legal, and teaching. These are all things that are reasonable, they're academic, and things that and the problem is, you go into college minimum 2 years. What happens during that 2 years is always just, you hope that your field doesn't get flooded. And that's what we see a lot of.
But survival of the fittest. It's survival of the fittest. We have to understand that fact of competition. And we're in a bad economy, Adam. 10 years from now, it's going to be a different story because all these teachers are going to be retired and it's going to be overflooded, and people like my TV producer will have an unbelievable teaching job, cushy as can be, because the fact of the matter is that's what's going to happen. We're in a cycle, and I'm not worried about it.
I'm worried about it.
Oh, you don't worry about it. It's no worries, Adam. Everything's going to be okay. Calm down. My brother's an economist, and he said we're going to get out. And I'm not going to say the reason we're going to get out. But, well, we're going to get about to take a break, but great discussion on the gap year. Email me at nhaley@totaltutor.org and tell me, do you think this is a good idea, the gap year? I'm going to do it on my Education Minute this week that I put on a bunch of different radio stations across the country, the Education Minute, the Total Education Minute, and go from that. You're listening to the Total Education Hour on the Total Education Network. We'll be back in just a moment with another exciting topic.
This sector's clear, Captain.
Seems that way. But they're here.
We have an intruder. 30 meters. 20 meters. 12. 8. 5.
I thought you guys were cleaning out here.
Oh, we are. We're, sweeping.
Yeah, for space aliens.
Yeah, for space aliens.
Well, good luck with that.
Imagine what a little time can do for your family.
I think our work is done.
From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
The American Legion. We're a powerful force for the nation. We pledge ourselves to our veterans, our youth, a strong national defense, and Americanism. These 4 pillars shape our work and what we do for America. We work relentlessly within our 4 pillars of service, and we succeed. We're committed to making sure all veterans receive the benefits they deserve for the sacrifices they've made in service to America. We support and promote citizenship and integrity in America's future leaders. We know what policies, tools, and manpower our military needs to protect this great country. We fight to get these things done. We're patriots through and through. We promote and defend these values every day in communities across the nation. Go to Legion.org to find out more about the American Legion's commitment of service to America.
We're back to the Total Education Hour and the Total Education Network, and I just love doing it in the studio. It's not my basement. It's not looking creepy crawly. We're not seeing spiders everywhere, but I want to welcome the program. And Adam, I'm not going to invite you to my basement.
Okay.
And
I'm okay with that.
Till I, hook it up, put it into something nice, and that'll be someday when I have some money. But I want to welcome the program, Nicole Danielle. Thanks for calling the program.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be talking to you guys.
Absolutely. And Danielle, our topic today is basically you are, I guess, a designer of handbags, very, very successful at what you did, but you started from the ground up. And one thing that I try to tell all my listeners out there, especially students and college students and high school students and people that have goals in their career, that it's not the easiest road and you have to really work at it to make it. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's all work. You got to be on 24/7. But what I always tell, when people ask me how did I get started, how am I so successful, I always say it's my passion, it's my drive, and that's what makes you successful in this industry or in any industry. And
basically, I understand that passion and desire. And when I was talking to the former coach of LSU, Dale Brown, yesterday, he's such a motivational speaker. He talked about that. If you don't have passion in what you do, but it's not the easiest road, Danielle. You have lots of times where you think you finally made it, or you think that you're going up that incline plane, and then you just take a complete dive, right? So people have to understand that people are going to tell you no. They're going to say, you're going to have your naysayers out there that say, guess what? What are you doing this for? You need to just get a job that's, guaranteed and be fine, right?
Yeah, but you know what? I tell people I turn that around and I make that fun, because then it's a challenge to me. Because once you overcome that challenge, it's the best feeling inside, saying someone told me no, but I did it. I said I knew inside I could do it, and I did it. So I always tell people, yeah, you're going to have people that come up to you and try to say no to you, but you have to show them, guide them, and believe in yourself, and then they'll believe in you.
Okay, no, that's great. Now, how did you get started in all this? Because I know you're very successful now, but where did you get the beginnings for, you had the passion to just start?
Yes, I started my handbag line when I was 18 years old, actually a freshman in college. I went to fashion school in New York City, the Fashion Institute of Technology, and from there I studied abroad my freshman year at all of the major couture houses in Europe. And then when I got back, I took an internship at the #1 luxury department store in New York City called Bergdorf Goodman. And from there, I interned in the personal shopping department to learn about the customers, to see what people wanted, what people looked for in handbags. Because ever since I was a little girl, I've always been obsessed with handbags. My parents laugh now. They always tell the story. When I was little, all my friends, you could always see me in my mother's closet playing with her handbags when my friends were playing with Barbies. So I've always had a passion for handbags. But being in New York and seeing, Donna Karan and all the high-end other designers, I wanted to do that for myself, because I thought if they can do it, I can do it myself too.
And basically, Danielle, it was not, like you said, you went and you paid your dues. You went through and then you also worked an internship. And I'm sure this wasn't a high-paying internship, was it?
High-paying, it was. I didn't get paid.
You didn't get paid at all. And so,
I wish I got paid.
Yeah, but you learn from this, and I think that's the humbling thing. You have this gift and this talent, but it doesn't guarantee success and say, oh, here you go, you're just so talented, here's $1 million, or here's $100,000, or you're just so great, I want to buy your handbags. It just doesn't work that way. And a lot of people think it's just, all I have to do is just show up, and I have such a great idea, and it's going to happen. And that's not the case at all, is it? And really isn't.
No, not. I mean, what I learned as an intern, it was priceless. I did everything from getting coffee for someone to, hand stitching a seam to, it really. You have to know everything about your business, from marketing to production to sales to the business end to accounting. Just at least get an idea of everything, because that will make you a stronger person and a stronger leader. because when you have a staff, when you have these little different departments, when they come to you with a problem, you can help solve it because you know that area already.
All right, yeah, definitely working from the ground up, just in different areas. It definitely makes it so you can take over, well, not take over, but just be a definite answer whenever people are coming to you when you have that staff underneath you. I know very rarely do we get to talk to somebody involved in fashion merchandising, which is something I know just a little bit about because it's something we offer at the school I work for. But what do you do now? Because I know that you're doing handbags. Are you thinking of going into any other avenues, or just sticking in that area?
Yes. Right now we have we have a very large variety of handbags. My handbags are sold in Nordstrom, Dillard's, Von Maur, also on Piperlime.com and on HSN.com. And for fall 2012, we are launching a very large small leather goods collection, which consists of iPad cases, laptop bags, wallets, small accessories, great gifting items. And we actually have a few of those items now available on our website. So we've got big plans for Danielle Nicole.
And I could see that in your passion in wanting to keep growing and growing and growing. So what recommendation would you give to a designer that's going to school like you did at the beginning and say your path? Would that be the same recommendation for another student that's thinking of being a designer, or would you say that they just got to go with what they think their gut is in that?
No, I think what I tell designers now, because I always say, you can be humble, number one. Be a sponge. Try to take in as much information as possible from the people who've already lived through the experiences and been in the industry. I always tell them it's really passion and drive. Again, I just keep reiterating it because that's the most important key to running a business. Because you just got to have that to be able to succeed.
Okay. Did you run into any surprises when kind of getting into the business aspect?
Yes, I run into surprises every day. You run into surprises every day. Actually, really, when it started with manufacturing, I remember when I got my first order from Bergdorf Goodman in the cosmetic bag department. I've never made a cosmetic bag before, and all of a sudden the buyers were asking me, "Can you make them?" So what I did was I went to a bunch of different stores and bought cosmetic bags, tore them apart to figure out the construction, and that's how I really, I taught myself.
And that's so important. You learn different things. Kind of story for me. Like I never thought I'd be able to edit radio, be able to edit and do all these different things, intros and outros at my house, all of these different things that great producers I have for both the stations I'm on. They're able to do all these different things, but you got to learn how to do things to become better in your industry. You can't just expect everyone else to do it. And again, you have such a huge line and you're so successful, but yet you had to learn the ins and outs of everything, and that's why you went you traveled that path, correct? Copying,
yes.
Looking at what works, what doesn't. You knew you had that talent. So I guess people have to understand that it's a learning experience, and that you never know you know more than you don't know as much as you should know. Meaning you got to keep trying to learn from this. Correct?
And you learn new things every day. I have a very large team in my staff, and I try to mentor my the people that work for me, and motivate them and say we learn things together every day. But the point is you learn it and it stays with you. Because when that happens again, you'll know how to solve the situation.
Okay. Well, I know we'll have a lot of listeners that are thinking of going into something creative or fashion-related, and sometimes it's hard to talk the family into going into it because a lot of people still have the belief that, creative and fashion-type things are kind of dead-end. Do you have any advice for how to broach that topic with, their families?
Great question.
Yes, I think that's a great, I get that question a lot, too. I always say start off small. If you have an idea, whether it's clothing or jewelry or accessories or shoes, try making a few pieces by yourself, by hand or by sewing machine, and take them to your local boutique. See if they can sell them, put them on consignment, just to get the feedback from customers and what other people are saying. That's how I started. I also went around to boutiques myself with a suitcase, showing them what I made and getting other people's opinions. So, nothing happens overnight, so it's a work in progress.
Definitely a work in progress. And I think that selling your family, saying, I'm going to do this. Were they behind this? Did they think this is a great idea for you, Danielle, when you said you wanted to do this?
They thought it was a great idea, but my father also said, it's not, I was 18 years old and all my friends were in college, going out every single night of the week. So he didn't know, not many people, they said, if you're going to want to do this, you have to dedicate your life to doing this, and I said I did. I wanted it that bad, where in college I was taking 21 credits and taking internships to learn as much as I could about my handbags and about, all about the industry. So my parents believed in me, I had great support, but only because I showed them that I believed in myself.
So you showed that initiative to say, I had that passion, and that's what I love hearing when I talk to all these people that were successful. They had passion, that they knew they could be successful. And what do you think was the down point in your career that, where you thought, I don't know, maybe I should have, because we always have our doubts in how we are able to turn around and to offer advice to our listeners that we all have these down points and how to bring ourselves back up so that we know we can do it.
Yeah, if you do, I never try to think negative, but, if a situation comes about where you're just, stuck, where you're like, gosh, I don't know how to figure it out, what I always do is I always step away from the situation. You need some time to think, let it, I remove myself, but you have to come back to it. So if you have doubts, then maybe it's not the right thing for you, but sometimes it's just, if you get, take 10 minutes away, whether it's 10 minutes or a day, and, rejuvenate yourself and your body, and then go back into it, you may have a different solution for it.
Okay. Well, Danielle, thank you so much for talking with us. Where can we find a little bit more about you?
Well, we have a variety of beautiful handbags available on my website, which is www.danielle-nicole.com. Everything we are shipping will be available still to receive before Christmas. So if anyone has any last-minute holiday shopping, we have a great selection for you. So, you can see us in Dillard's, Von Maur, and also Piperline.com and Nordstrom.
Wow, I tell you, and you had a big breakthrough. You were on a big show, weren't you, a couple of months ago?
Yes. Oprah Winfrey picked one of my designs, my tote designs, and ordered over 5,500 pieces to give away to all of her audience members at an event she was throwing in Atlanta, Georgia, called the OU event. And to meet Oprah was pretty amazing, and for her to choose my handbag was just such a life achievement award for myself. And it just really goes to show you, that how hard, if you work that hard and you're dedicated and you're passionate and you believe in yourself, look what can happen.
Well, thanks again for calling the program, and we'll be in touch, okay?
Thank you so much. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you as well.
Bye.
Bye. You're listening to Total Education Hour on the Total Education Network, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Don't know which way to turn. Well, there's a place you can go to put an end to your frustration.
It's a site that everyone should learn.
USA.gov.
Find your Social Security benefits online.
USA.gov.
Our list of jobs will put you on cloud nine.
USA.gov.
Shop auctions for a used minivan anytime.
USA.gov.
You can apply for a student loan.
USA.gov.
Get energy saving tips for your home.
USA.gov.
So great you might just get carpal tunnel syndrome.
It's government made easy for the people. USA.gov. For the people. USA.gov.
Savings Man here with a story for you about two young spenders named Tommy and Sue. Their parents let them buy whatever they chose, like video games and designer clothes. As they grew older, they spent all their pay on fancy cars, houses, 2 lattes a day. They lived in the moment, never saving a dime. When they tried to retire, they'd run out of time. Working forever is Tom and Sue's fate, so choose to save now before it's too late. Visit our website to find out more, 'cause a happy ending's worth saving for.
And now, another adventure with Savings Man.
The
Let's live at the beach.
Let's golf every day.
How about a trip?
Season baseball tickets.
Sounds like you're planning for retirement.
Hey, savings man.
Are you saving enough?
We are, thanks to the easy ballpark estimate worksheet at choosetosave.org.
Hope you're saving for health insurance.
Absolutely, because health insurance is important. Thanks, savings man.
No, thank you.
So visit choosetosave.org and get your ballpark estimate today.
We're back to the Total Education Hour on the Total Education Network, and I tell you, Adam, so far, very, very interesting discussions we're having with some people, and I think that one thing our education talk show is trying to do is educate people in their careers, especially this terrible economy we have. People really have to have a laser focus, and I tell you right now, when I was her age, I was focusing on, I guess, a basketball career. So that's where we kind of go in different directions. But now our next guest to the program, I want to welcome Carl. You're teaming up with WQED with a great event. Thanks for calling the program.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you, Neil.
So, Carl, tell us what you're promoting with WQED and kind of coming up with it. And I'm really amazed about this program because I've watched it on television. It's fantastic.
So, well, ironically, I grew up here in Pittsburgh, and I never really intended to move back, but I went out to Hollywood for 20 years and then kind of accidentally moved back to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, the real-life Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, of course, for those who grew up here. And right after that, I ended up on Oprah Winfrey for, of all things, leaving Hollywood and moving to Pittsburgh. And it was shortly after that that Fred died and the town went bankrupt, and a lot of people wanted to see Pittsburgh come back to the city. So one of the things that a group of neighbors and I did is we made this movie called My Tale of Two Cities, which is now played around 26 cities around the country, and that's going to be playing at the Hollywood Theater tonight with a couple of other very special Pittsburgh films. And so that's what we're doing tonight at the Hollywood Theater. I'm actually currently with Mr. McFeely here at the Mount Lebanon Galleria at the Science Pictures.
Wow, amazing! And also, you're teaming up with the Pittsburgh in the Air, also the Pittsburgh from the Air thing as well for this program, correct?
Yeah, and of course, WQED just recently produced that, and they took these beautiful aerial shots around Pittsburgh, and people may have seen it on television.
Oh, that was gorgeous! It was awesome.
Yeah, and of course, both of these movies are kind of thematically themed in the fact that they're both showing the old Pittsburgh and the new Pittsburgh and how Pittsburgh has reinvented itself. So, so that's what's kind of neat about it. No one's ever seen this in the theater, the Pittsburgh from the Air. So, when we watched it on TV, mostly it was my wife and I trying to find our house. But as you start looking around and seeing how beautiful each neighborhood looks from the sky, it's really something else. So.
And Carl, we're a international show. So basically, for people understanding, Pittsburgh went through a complete change of, I guess, the way it looks compared to the 70s to now, right? Isn't that correct, Carl?
Yeah, and, the hard thing about Pittsburgh, when I went out to Hollywood in the early 1980s, that was part of the time when the steel industry had declined, and Pittsburgh was one of the first cities in the world who really had to deal with. For 100 years, it had been the steel capital of the world, and then overnight it died, and it took almost 20 years for it to really figure out a way to reinvent its image. But a lot of people, even as Pittsburgh cleaned itself up and became more beautiful, are still stuck with that old image of the smoky steel mills. And so, the reason we call My Tale of Two Cities a Pittsburgh comeback story, because it's not only a story of my own coming home and a lot of people longing to come home to Pittsburgh, but it's a story of Pittsburgh which came back against all odds. Before other cities started to, have to go through these changes, Pittsburgh's done it. So.
Yeah, Pittsburgh has absolutely done it, and I remember the 70s and the steel mills, and really people still think it's a dirty city, and that's the sad part about it. I go to other cities all the time traveling, and they're saying, when I was living down south, they said, oh, Pittsburgh, that you must not really breathe well, or, that's a steel town. And, things have changed a lot, Adam, haven't they?
My God, yes. I will say I'm just a big fan of this, actually. I've been reading about this for months, just waiting for the Tale of Two Cities to be available to watch. It just sounded like such a good idea. I love Pittsburgh. It's been my home since I've been born, and I don't plan on ever leaving it for a long time. But every time I find things that I didn't know were here in the first place. Did you find anything that kind of surprised you about Pittsburgh, even though you were a native, while you were doing this?
Well, I have to tell you, everything surprised me. I mean, I had no intention of, first of all, coming back to Pittsburgh. I'm glad you had stayed here, but I grew up and I was kind of poor kid, and I got beat up by kids in my public school, and then I got a scholarship to private school where I got beat up by richer kids. And, you know, I wasn't particularly a happy kid, and I was a Vikings fan and a Steelers fan in the 70s, which Franco Harris said to me in the movie was not a good choice. So the irony is I didn't love Pittsburgh, and I had gotten lucky enough to write a movie called St. Elmo's Fire, which took me out to Hollywood, and I came back for what I thought would be a year, not intending to ever really live here. My daughter was 1, and we were living above the Sunset Strip next to Paris Hilton, and, you know, my daughter started dancing naked on the coffee table, and my wife said if we stayed living above the Sunset Strip, that'd be a profession. So kind of as a joke, we moved back here for a year, and then when we came back here, I met many wonderful neighbors, and I realized how much Pittsburgh had changed just as I had changed. And, you know, people who stay here know the more you go around the world, the more you appreciate the basic decency and wonderfulness of Pittsburgh neighbors. And the reason Mr. McFeely is here, and we use the metaphor of Fred Rogers, you know, used to go in with Mr. McFeely and showed what all these factories made, and they no longer make that. So the factories are gone, but the people are still here. And these are very resilient people, and it was remarkable to me, one, how much these people still cared about the city. And two is how, you know, the great thing about Pittsburgh is it never changes, and the worst thing about Pittsburgh is it never changes. And so for Pittsburgh to change has not been an easy thing, but ultimately we found while we were making the movie, Google came to Pittsburgh, and of course we've been involved with trying to get movies and TV shows here, and that started to happen. So a lot of great things surprised me as we went along about, you know, just how Pittsburgh in the last 5 years while we made the movie has transformed itself.
I have had an experience, too, leaving Pittsburgh, living down south, coming back, and I understand that Pittsburgh, it did change in a short period of time, but I think what makes Pittsburgh Pittsburgh is the people. The people make Pittsburgh. The relationships, how everyone's neighborly. Like when I lived in New Jersey, people were just absolutely short with me, and when I lived down south, the same thing. You Yankee, go home. So I feel home in Pittsburgh. And for your movie, what do you think people are going to say? Wow, especially let's say they don't live in Pittsburgh, but they used to live in Pittsburgh, because I have met many family members that grew up in Pittsburgh, about the film that kind of will shock them in a way.
Well, the strangest thing is that we've now played 26 cities around the country, from Windsor, Canada, to Santa Fe, New Mexico, to Capitol Hill. And everywhere we go, it was sort of shocking to me, like, for instance, in Chicago, that people showed up who were from Pittsburgh, and they had this enormous longing still to go home. And I said, you live in Chicago. That's a neighborhood city. You know, it's not like, you know, some of the other cities we won't mention, but, you know, but everybody feels that way. You're exactly right about how special this place is. And I think you're exactly right. The people is, I can't figure out myself. You know, I actually made a lot more money in Hollywood. But, you know, as part of the movie, we wasn't saying, won't you be my neighbor? I had this fantasy, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, saying in Chicago, saying twist and shout of singing, won't you be my neighbor? So we did it in Times Square, and 300 Pittsburghers showed up from Broadway. We did it in L.A., and we had 300 more there. And then we did it at the point we had hundreds of people show up and sing, won't you be my neighbor? And I don't think you could do that in any other city. Obviously, the terrible towels that everyone says this season every Sunday, some of those are Pittsburghers who travel, but most of them are people who were forced to leave. And the great thing is we get more jobs here and we reinvent ourselves. More and more people, even new people, are coming here and saying, wow, this is a great city to live in.
And we're really one of the only places that's really hiring is the city of Pittsburgh, Western Pennsylvania. I think I was checking that out before, but I know Adam has a question.
I know that it's great to do all these things, especially when it comes with Pittsburgh. And when we had the neighborhood narratives, I thought that was one of the best things ever we had, too. That was from a couple of years back. I know this has to do with, you know, neighborhoods, and not just neighborhoods, but also, you know, building on the legacy of Mr. Rogers. And he's not just, as much as to us he's a Pittsburgh icon, I think he really has just become like a icon of neighborhoods and how that type of lifestyle was. Do you have a lot of people, you know, that bring up, you know, just Mr. Rogers and what it means to them with Pittsburgh?
Yeah, you know, I'm involved in a nonprofit called the Steel Town Entertainment Project, which happened right after Fred passed away in 2003. A lot of people from Hollywood wanted to see Fred's studio at QED reused, and just this week, Jamie Widows, who directs 2.5 Men, and you may know as Hoover's aunt from Animal House, was in, and as part of Steeltown and QED collaborating, was in doing a pilot that he's going to formally shoot in January. This will be the first show that really is aimed towards national distribution since Fred has left. That's really, when you have the director of the hottest show in TV who grew up in Squirrel Hill coming back here to do that, it shows you how much this place means to people and how much seeing that Fred Rogers space. The show actually is about girls' self-esteem and empowerment. It's a very positive show. So people feel a real obligation to Fred. But one of the hard things is people don't realize that Fred Rogers, left Pittsburgh and went and worked in New York in the early days of television, and then he chose to come back here after he learned his craft. So a lot of what we've been trying to do is build on his legacy and trying to get other people. So you may notice a lot of movie shooting in Pittsburgh these days. There was a guy from Lionsgate who's saying, "Won't you be mayor and neighbor with us?" John DeLaverson, who came 4 years ago and helped change the film tax credits in the state. And a lot of people are trying to do things in Fred's memory. But the weirdest thing is nobody knew that Fred was from Pittsburgh. But when we left from L.A., my Beverly Hills pediatrician said, "You must get one book, the Mr. Rogers moving book." Well, it turns out that my daughter's preschool teacher in Pittsburgh was the woman on the cover. So the Beverly Hills pediatrician had no idea Fred was from Pittsburgh. But you're absolutely right. Mr. Rogers' neighborhood is everybody's neighborhood.
So the Steeltown Entertainment Project, how is this foundation helping people? Just give us a little bit.
Well, it's a nonprofit, and we have like 4 or 5 programs which have now kind of started to explode in the last few years in terms of their popularity. The first one is we have something called the Steeltown Film Factory, where we give $30,000 away to the best short film about Pittsburgh. But what's really unique about it is anyone can write a script, and it's 12 pages long, and they get read by over 60 people from Hollywood, from New York, from Pittsburgh. Some of the best filmmakers and power players in Hollywood have agreed to be part of this to help nurture new talent and find the next Fred Rogers or George Romero. So the deadline is December 31st. We encourage people to go to steeltown.org. And in the last 2 years we've done it, it's really started to bring the talent that left here together with the talent that's still here and trying to make sure that the next Andy Warhol or Fred Rogers or Gene Kelly stays in Pittsburgh. So that's one of them. And we've also started to do something. We partnered with the Gates Foundation to do Take a Shot at Changing the World, which is encouraging middle school and high school kids to make videos that would connect things that happen in Pittsburgh that change the world with new things that are changing the world and their own plan. So we have a lot of programs like that. And again, we've done things with our advisors, like bringing Jamie Widows back and trying to develop movies that are partnering Hollywood and Pittsburgh. So by doing that, we're hoping, Mr. McFeely says in My Tale of Two Cities, look, the steel mills aren't going to come back, but we need an industry to replace that. And 100 years ago, Pittsburgh was a place you went with your dreams if you were an immigrant. And we're hoping that now people who have moved, the entertainment industry will be a new industry for Pittsburgh.
Well, I really appreciate you calling the program, Carl. So the website we should go is WQED.org, and also your Steeltown website, which is again?
Steeltown.org. And if they can't come up tonight, My Tale of Two Cities, you can go to the PittsburghMovie.com or MyTale2Cities.com, and it's also available in Giant Eagles if you are in Pittsburgh. But we really hope people will come and take a look at it. And the movie is really about people and places reinventing themselves, and that really is Pittsburgh these days. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks, Carl. Love to have you back on again to tell us how things are going. Appreciate you calling.
Okay, take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
That was Carl, and what an awesome interview. You're listening to Total Education Hour on the Total Education Network, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Everyone is a story. Everyone. He passed away last year. It was hard at first when I found out how sick he was. The doctor suggested hospice care at home. He came home, and that was wonderful. And hospice helped a great deal. They were there whenever we needed them. They helped me take care of him. I didn't know. I didn't know where to start, what to do, what his needs were going to be. As the illness got worse and worse, they were there with help and suggestions and just how to do it, how to cope with it. They made his last months comfortable, pain-free, which was a blessing. We were able to find some joy till the very end.
Delhi's a mad, chaotic place at first glance, but there is a method to the madness somewhere. I've lived in Delhi all my life, and I have seen the weather change. The monsoon this year has been more erratic than I can ever remember. It's at least a month and a half late. We've had, I think, highest temperature in the last 50 years. Growing up, you'd wait for a squall. It was short, it was intense, but it used to come nearly every evening, sometime in the beginning of the summer. This year, there's not a drop. Climate change is something that affects everyone. It's not class-specific or society-specific. Some estimates say 2017 Delhi, 15 million people are going to be without water. It's quite scary living in Delhi and knowing that.
The Total Education Hour on the Total Education Network. I just cannot believe our guests today. And last but not least on the program today, I want to welcome, and I'm really, really excited about this. First, I want to introduce Dr. Ernie Detour, who is a contributor to the Total Education Network. Dr. Detour, thanks for calling the program.
Hey, you're welcome. No, nice to hear you again.
And Dr. Detour, I would like you to introduce the two people from Heartwood, and then we're going to get to our topic today, our conversation.
Okay, we have with us today Lisa Dickens and Rebecca Gamble from the Heartwood Institute.
How are you guys?
We're good. We're good.
Awesome. And Ernie, what is our topic for today?
We're going to talk about challenging behaviors and how to deal with them.
And these challenging behaviors and how to deal with them. It's very interesting. We had a conversation over coffee at one of our local John's in Pittsburgh, and we talked about the fact about challenging behaviors of younger kids and that they're getting expelled in preschool. And I think it's an awful epidemic, Rebecca and Lisa. How are we going to kind of combat this, to hear that kids this age are doing this?
Well, we are addressing that from our institute, the Heartwood Institute, through character education. We're a nonprofit literature-based character education group based in Pittsburgh. We've been around for about the past 25 years, and we are committed to promoting understanding and practice of 7 universal ethical attributes that are the foundation of the community among all people. So we feel that by addressing these attributes, Heartwood's comprehensive programs boost achievement, they build character in young children and all children, help reduce bullying, and really push our mission to present and reinforce this literature-based ethics program as a way to support the children, their schools, and their families.
That's really good. I just think that teaching character building is such an important thing. When they grow in character, they're going to make the right decisions, and through modeling, especially of the teachers, then their parents, if they can learn this curriculum together, the administration and the students, they're going to make the right decisions, and we're not going to see as many disruptive behaviors. Isn't that right, Dr. Detour, in the classroom if the kids are learning different character traits?
That is correct. When you mentioned...
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Adam, so what do you think of that?
Well, I think it's a great thing. I know that we have a lot of different listeners, and some of them may not be very familiar with character building. Could you tell us a little bit more about what that entails?
Go ahead, Rebecca or Lisa.
So part of what Heartwood is based on is we promote the understanding and practice of 7 universal ethical attributes. And the attributes that we use are courage, loyalty, justice, respect, hope, honesty, and love. And what we have done is we've incorporated these 7 attributes into all of our educational products, which range from pre-K through the 8th grade. And our mission is, of course, to promote and focus on these attributes through our literature-based ethics programming. And in the process, we're also supporting children, educators, and families. So that's the high level of the attributes and how we infuse them into our curriculum.
And what response do we see from the students through these, teaching them these attributes? One of you can take it.
Well, we've seen through the course of the studies that we've done, because Heartwood field tests all of our products, and so before we even develop the product and actually present it, we oversee focus groups in the product development stage. But just recently, we did a bullying prevention pilot in western Pennsylvania, and during the process, we surveyed both educators and students. And what the students are telling us is that high percentages, like 83%, like the books because they're multicultural and help them to learn the attributes. Another 91% of them are saying that they like the actual kit itself. But then what we're also seeing is we're seeing a decrease in suspensions and things like that in the schools. So by getting it into the schools and having it infused into the classrooms, we're seeing the positive behavior at the back end.
Adam, what do you think of that? That's pretty good.
Oh, it's always good to find these type of things, especially whenever you're trying to put together for just a big age group that you're going on. Have you seen a big difference for whenever you're working on the younger elementary grades as in comparison to the middle school and high school grades?
Did someone hear Adam? Did you hear the question? Basically,
no, I didn't.
Okay, so basically, it's Adam, go ahead and speak up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm very sorry. Have you found any differences for when trying to make the type of positive impact and character traits for building when you're working with younger kids to those that you're picking up on middle school and high school that didn't go and learn about these things at elementary? You're getting them kind of years into it so that there's a lot more to work on.
I think what we have found is, in the elementary versus the middle school curriculum, what we're seeing is that obviously in the elementary grades, the activities are designed for the ages, and so they're appropriate to the ages and the moral development of the children. The one thing that we have discovered that, and we've actually incorporated into our middle school, is the conflict resolution component, because it's something that we're hearing from the teachers, educators, and families that the children need to have. So it's the same basic concept, if you will, but in terms of how it's presented, it gets into more the conflict resolution at the middle school level.
And that's such an important thing, Adam, that you said about if the earlier they learn about it, the better. And how do you get into the schools and teach them these skills? Do you have a group of people, volunteers, that go in and teach the curriculum?
Well, we have actually, Rebecca, who I know is on the phone with us, Rebecca has an education degree, so Rebecca does a lot of the training in that. But we also have individuals that have done trainings for us, since the inception of Heartwood. And what we like to do with our trainings is we like to talk to the educators and see specifically what they're looking to achieve from the trainings. And then what we like to do is customize it, because in many instances we have teachers that are familiar with Heartwood, and maybe now they're purchasing another grade or another level or one of our other educational tools. So what we do is we go into the various classrooms and we custom tailor it for them so they can infuse it into the curriculum very easily.
And can you tell us some of the other products that you're able to kind of help the schools out with and stuff that'll be good tools to teach character and also with the bullying as well, stopping the bullying?
So currently we have products that range from pre-K through the 8th grade, and I alluded before to our elementary character kits. Now those are multicultural literature based, as are all of our products, and they correspond to the 7 attributes as well. We have additionally the middle school, which I alluded to, and that it contains scripted conflict resolution activities, so it helps teachers and others to coach the students in conflict management. And our middle school product is broken down into United States, Asia, Africa, and also Europe, Latin America, and Canada. So it gives you the diverse geographical topics as well. And then one of the products we've been very successful with is our True Cards. and it's more of an open-ended tool to help children think about and then to ultimately talk about ethical choices. And the product itself contains 49 cards, and then it also contains quotes and sayings and proverbs. But what it does is it guides conversations between adults and children as it relates to character.
So give me an example of one of the character traits and how you teach that in the classrooms to the students.
Rebecca? Maybe she's not there. So what we do is, say, for example, we'll take the idea of, say, courage or loyalty, and then what happens is we will find and we will have a book that relates specifically to that attribute. But many of our books actually touch on several attributes. So maybe we're talking specifically about courage, but there are other attributes as well that are infused within the book. And so then what the teacher will do is read it aloud to the students, and then there will be a conversation around it. But then ultimately, the child will take home to the parents a home connection activity. So maybe you're talking to your parent about, maybe sometime that someone lied to you and how it made you feel. And we have journal writings, and we have those types of things. So you're getting it in the classroom, and then you're also talking to, family members at home. So you have the complete 360 approach.
Okay, Dr. Detour, what amazes you about this program, especially for early childhood?
Well, I think the idea that they're actually addressing all these disturbing trends that are happening right now. Some of them are socially based, some of them are economically based, but the idea is that they are prioritizing character education, and it really does address the changing nature of our youth needs. Things have changed a lot, and there's a huge impact that these children are having on education, on interactions in sports and things of that nature, and they're taking the bull by the horns here and focusing on all these concerns.
All right. Well, we have about 30 seconds. Where can we find more information on you, Rebecca and Lisa, on the Heartwood Institute? Where can we go?
You can go to our website, which is www.heartwoodethics.org, or there's a toll-free number that we have, which is 1-800-HEART, HEART 10.
Well, thanks a lot, Dr. Detour and Rebecca and Lisa, for calling the program and addressing how we can stop this situation with early childhood kids. I appreciate you calling.
Look, Mom, no skis. No fish.
Falls on TV can be entertaining. Falling at home can be devastating. Each year, 1 in 3 Americans over 65 falls in their own home, breaking bones and shattering lives. For older people, any broken bone can be serious. A broken hip, potentially lethal. To make your home as fall-safe and bone-friendly as it can be, visit orthoinfo.org/falls. A public service message from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, where staying on your feet is doctor's orders.
And now, another adventure with Savings Man.
This is great. Every day should be like this.
It will be when I retire in a few years. I've been planning and saving. Did you save for me?
Well, this is unexpected.
Where'd you come from? Out of the blue, just like an illness, an emergency, or
That's enough, Mr. Unexpected.
Savings Man.
There's still time to plan. Find out how at choose2save.org with a ballpark estimate worksheet.
I will. Thanks, Savings Man.
No, thank you.